Depeche Mode are an English electronic band formed in Basildon in 1980. The band currently consists of Dave Gahan, lead vocals, co-songwriting, and Martin Gore, keyboards, guitar, co-lead vocals, primary songwriting. Depeche Mode, originally formed by the lineup of Gahan, Gore, Andy Fletcher, and Vince Clarke, released their debut album Speak and Spell in 1981, bringing the band onto the British new wave scene. After founding member Clarke left following the release of the album, they recorded A Broken Frame as a trio. Gore took over as main songwriter and later, in 1982, Alan Wilder replaced Clarke, establishing a lineup that continued for 13 years. The band's last albums of the 1980s, Black Celebration and Music for the Masses, established them as a dominant force within both the electronic and alternative music scenes. A highlight of this era was the band's June 1988 concert at the Pasadena Rose Bowl, where they drew a crowd in excess of 60,000 people. In early 1990, they released Violator, an international mainstream success. The following album, Songs of Faith and Devotion, released in 1993, was also a success, though the band's internal struggles during recording and touring resulted in Wilder's departure in 1995. The band continued with the trio lineup of Gahan, Gore, and Fletcher until Fletcher's death in 2022. Depeche Mode have had 54 songs in the UK singles chart and 17 top 10 albums in the UK chart. They have sold more than 100 million records worldwide. 2-3Q included the band in its list of the 50 bands that changed the world. 4. Depeche Mode also ranked number 98 on VH1's 100 Greatest Artists of All Time. 5. In December 2016, Billboard named Depeche Mode the 10th greatest of all-time top dance club artists. 6. They were nominated for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2017 and 2018, eventually being inducted in 2020. 7. History. Formation and Speak and Spell, 1977 to 1981. See also, Speak and Spell album. Martin Gore in 1986. Martin Gore in 1986. Depeche Mode's origins date to 1977, when schoolmates Vince Clarke and Andy Fletcher formed a band called No Romance in China with Clarke on vocals and guitar and Fletcher on bass. Fletcher would later recall, "Why am I in the band? It was accidental right from the beginning. I was actually forced to be in the band. I played the guitar and I had a bass, it was a question of them roping me in." 8. In 1979, Clarke played guitar in an Ultravox-influenced band, The Plan, with friends Robert Marlowe and Paul Langwith. 9. In 1978 to 1979, Martin Gore played guitar in an acoustic duo, Norman and the Worms, with school friend Phil Burdett on vocals. 10. Better Source Needed. In 1980, Clarke and Fletcher formed a band called Composition of Sound, with Clarke on vocals, guitar and Fletcher on bass. The pair were soon joined by Martin Gore as a third instrumentalist. Citation needed. Dave Gahan joined the ensemble later in 1980 after Clarke heard him perform at a local Scout Hut jam session, singing a rendition of David Bowie's Heroes. 11. With the advent of affordable synthesizers and the increasing popularity of electronic music, the group began pursuing a synth-pop direction. 12. The first live concert of Composition of Sound as a four-piece was on June 14, 1980 at Nicholas School, Basildon, England, UK. 13. There is a plaque commemorating the gig at the James Hornsby School in Basildon, where Gore and Fletcher were pupils. Gahan's and Gore's favorite artists included Susie and the Banshees, Sparks, 14, Cabaret Voltaire, Talking Heads, and Iggy Pop. 15. Gahan's onstage persona was influenced by Dave Vanian, frontman of The Damned. 16. Gahan has also credited David Bowie, James Brown, Elvis Presley and Prince as influences on his performance style. 17. Composition of Sound would become embarrassed about their band name and started thinking of changing it. There were several potential variants, including the name Musical Moments that was suggested by Vince Clarke as both a band name and the name of their first album. Starting at their concert on September 24, 1980 at Bridge House, the band changed their name to Depeche Mode, chosen by Dave Gahan. 19 When explaining the choice for the new name, which was taken from a mistranslation of the name of French fashion magazine Depeche Mode, 20, Gore said, "It means hurried fashion or fashion dispatch. I like the sound of that." 21, however, the more accurate translation of the magazine's name, and therefore the band's name, is Fashion News or Fashion Update. B. The band made their recording debut in late 1980 for the Some Bizarre album, released in 1981, with the song Photographic, later re-recorded for their debut album Speak and Spell. The band made a demo tape but, instead of mailing the tape to record labels, they would go in and personally deliver it. They would demand the labels play it. According to Dave Gahan, most of them would tell us to fuck off. They'd say leave the tape with us and we'd say it's our only one. Then we'd say goodbye and go somewhere else. 22. According to Gahan, prior to securing their record contract, they were receiving offers from all the major labels. Phonogram offered them money you could never have imagined and all sorts of crazy things like clothes allowances. 22. While playing a live gig at the Bridge House in Canning Town, 23, the band was approached by Daniel Miller, an electronic producer and founder of Mute Records, who was interested in their recording a single for his burgeoning label. 24. The result of this verbal contract was their first single, Dreaming of Me, recorded in December 1980 and released in February 1981. It reached number 57 in the UK charts. Encouraged by this, the band recorded their second single, New Life, which climbed to number 11 in the UK charts and got them an appearance on Top of the Pops. The band went to London by train, carrying their synthesizers all the way to the BBC studios. The band's next single was Just Can't Get Enough. The synth-pop single became the band's first UK top 10 hit. The video is the only one to feature Vince Clarke. Depeche Mode's debut album, Speak and Spell, was released in October 1981 and peaked at number 10 on the UK album charts. 25. Critical reviews were mixed. Melody Maker described it as a great album, one they had to make to conquer fresh audiences and please the fans who just can't get enough. 26. While Rolling Stone was more critical, calling the album PG-rated fluff. 27. Clarke's departure, A Broken Frame, and Wilder's joining, 1981 to 1982. See also, A Broken Frame. Depeche Mode in 1982. Clarke began to voice his discomfort at the direction the band was taking, saying there was never enough time to do anything. Not with all the interviews and photo sessions. 28. Clarke also said he was sick of touring, which Gahan said years later was bullshit to be quite honest. 22. Gahan went on to say he suddenly lost interest in it and he started getting letters from fans asking what kind of socks he wore. 22. In November 1981, Clarke publicly announced that he was leaving Depeche Mode. 29. Soon afterwards, Clarke joined up with blues singer Alison Moët to form Yazoo, or Yaz in the United States. Initial talk of Clarke's continuing to write material for Depeche Mode ultimately amounted to nothing. According to third-party sources, Clarke offered the remaining members of Depeche Mode the track Only You, but they declined. 30. Clarke, however, denied in an interview that such an offer ever took place, saying, "I don't know where that came from. That's not true." 31. The song went on to become a UK top 3 hit for Yazoo. Gore, who had written Torah, and the instrumental Big Muff for Speak and Spell, became the band's main composer and lyricist. 32. In late 1981, the band placed an anonymous ad in Melody Maker looking for another musician, name band, synthesize, must be under 21. 11. Alan Wilder, a classically trained keyboardist from West London, responded and, after 2 auditions and despite being 22 years old, was hired in early 1982, initially on a trial basis as a touring member. 33. Wilder would later be called the musical director of the band, responsible for the band's sound until his departure in 1995. 8. As producer Flood would say, Alan is sort of the craftsman, Martin's the idea man and Dave is the attitude. 8. In January 1982, the band released See You, their first single without Clark, which managed to beat all 3 Clark-penned singles in the UK charts, reaching number 6. 34. The following tour saw the band playing their first shows in North America. 2 more singles, The Meaning of Love and Leave in Silence, were released ahead of the band's second studio album, on which they began work in July 1982. Daniel Miller informed Wilder that he was not needed for the recording of the album, as the core trio wanted to prove they could succeed without Vince Clarke. 35. A Broken Frame was released that September, and the following month the band began their 1982 tour. A non-album single, Get the Balance Right, was released in January 1983, the first Depeche Mode track to be recorded with Wilder. 36. Construction Time Again, 1983. See also, Construction Time Again. For its third album, Construction Time Again, Depeche Mode worked with producer Gareth Jones, at John Fox's Garden Studios and at Hansa Studios in West Berlin, where much of David Bowie's trilogy of seminal electronic albums featuring Brian Eno had been produced. The album saw a dramatic shift in the group's sound, due in part to Wilder's introduction of the synclavier and EMU emulator samplers. 37. By sampling the noises of everyday objects, the band created an eclectic, industrial-influenced sound, with similarities to groups such as The Art of Noise and Einstürz and New Botan, the latter becoming Mute label mates in 1983. 38. Everything Counts rose to number 6 in the UK, also reaching the top 30 in Ireland, South Africa, Switzerland, Sweden, and West Germany. 25. Wilder contributed 2 songs to the album, The Landscape is Changing and 2-Minute Warning. In September 1983, to promote Construction Time Again, the band launched a European concert tour. Some Great Reward and Growing International Success, 1984 to 1985. See also, Some Great Reward, People Are People, and People Are People album. Depeche Mode in 1984. In their early years, Depeche Mode had really attained success only in Europe and Australia. This changed in March 1984, when they released the single People Are People. 39. The song became a hit, reaching number 2 in Ireland and Poland, number 4 in the UK and Switzerland, and number 1 in West Germany, the first time a DM single topped a country's singles chart, where it was used as the theme to West German TV's coverage of the 1984 Olympics. 40. Beyond this European success, the song also reached number 13 on the US charts in mid-1985, the first appearance of a DM single on the Billboard Hot 100, and was a top 20 hit in Canada. People Are People became an anthem for the LGBT community. 41. Regularly played at gay establishments and gay pride festivals in the late 1980s. Sire, the band's North American record label, released a compilation of the same name which included tracks from A Broken Frame and Construction Time Again as well as several B-sides. On the American tour, the band was, according to Gore, shocked by the way the fans were turning up in droves at the concerts. 22. He said that although the concerts were selling well, Depeche Mode struggled to sell records. 22. In September 1984, Some Great Reward was released. Melody Maker claimed that the album made one sit up and take notice of what is happening here, right under your nose. 42. In contrast to the political and environmental subjects addressed on the previous album, The songs on Some Great Reward were mostly concerned with more personal themes such as sexual politics, master and servant, adulterous relationships, lie to me, and arbitrary divine justice, blasphemous rumors. Also included was the first Martin Gore ballad, Somebody. Such songs would become a feature of all following albums. Citation needed. Somebody was released as a double A-side with Blasphemous Rumors, and was the first single with Gore on lead vocal. Some Great Reward became the first Depeche Mode album to enter the US album charts, and made the top 10 in several European countries. Citation needed. The World We Live in and Live in Hamburg was the band's first video release, almost an entire concert from their 1984 Some Great Reward tour. In July 1985, the band played their first ever concerts behind the Iron Curtain, in Budapest and Warsaw. 43. In October 1985, Mute released a compilation, the singles 81-85, catching up with Depeche Mode in the US, which included the two non-album hit singles Shake the Disease and It's Called a Heart along with their B-sides. In the United States, the band's music first gained prominence on college radio and modern rock stations such as KROQ in Los Angeles, KCAC, The Quake, in San Francisco, WFNX in Boston and LR on Long Island, New York, and hence they appealed primarily to an alternative audience who were disenchanted with the predominance of soft rock and disco hell. 44, on the radio. This view of the band was in sharp contrast to how the band was perceived in Europe, despite the increasingly dark and serious tone in their songs. 45, in Germany, France, and other European countries, Depeche Mode were considered teen idols and regularly featured in European teen magazines, becoming one of the most famous synth-pop bands in the mid-80s. Citation needed. Black Celebration, 1986. See also, Black Celebration. Depeche Mode's musical style shifted slightly again in 1986 with the release of their 15th single, Stripped, and its accompanying album Black Celebration. Retaining their often imaginative sampling and beginning to move away from the industrial pop sound that had characterized their previous two LPs, the band introduced an ominous, highly atmospheric and textured sound. Gore's lyrics also took on a darker tone and became more pessimistic. The music video for A Question of Time was the first to be directed by Anton Corbijn, beginning a working relationship that continues to the present. Corbijn has directed 21 of the band's videos, the latest being 2023's Ghosts Again. He has also filmed some of their live performances and designed stage sets, as well as most covers for albums and singles starting from Violator. Citation needed. Music for the Masses and 101, 1987-1988. See also, Music for the Masses and 101 album. For 1987's Music for the Masses, the band's sound and working methods continued to develop. It was the first time they worked with a producer not related to Mute Records. Dave Bascom was called to assist with the recording sessions, although, according to Alan Wilder, Bascom's role ended up being more that of engineer. 46, in making the album, the band largely eschewed sampling in favor of synthesizer experimentation. 47, while chart performance of the singles Strangelove, Never Let Me Down Again and Behind the Wheel proved to be disappointing in the UK, they performed well in countries such as Canada, Brazil, West Germany, South Africa, Sweden, and Switzerland, often reaching the top 10. Record Mirror described Music for the Masses as the most accomplished and sexy Mode album to date. 48, the album also reached number 35 on the US Billboard 200 chart. 49. The Music for the Masses tour began October 22, 1987. On March 7, 1988, with no previous announcement that they would be the headlining act, Depeche Mode played in the Werner's Seelenbinder Halle, East Berlin, 50, becoming one of the few Western groups to perform in the communist East Germany. They also performed concerts in Budapest and Prague in 1988, 51, both communist also at the time. The world tour ended June 18, 1988 with a concert at the Pasadena Rose Bowl. Paid attendance of 60,453.52, was the highest in 8 years for the venue. Citation needed. Its massive success citation needed, marked a breakthrough for the band in the United States. Citation needed. The event was documented in 101, a concert film by D.A. Pennebaker and its accompanying soundtrack album. The film is notable for its portrayal of fan interaction. 53-54, Alan Wilder came up with the title, noting that it was the 101st and final performance of the tour. Citation needed. On September 7, 1988, Depeche Mode performed Strange Love at the 1988 MTV Video Music Awards at the Universal Amphitheater in Los Angeles. 55. Violator and Worldwide Fame, 1989 to 1991. See also, Violator album. In mid-1989, the band began recording in Milan with producer Flood and engineer Francois Kevorkian. The initial result of this session was the single Personal Jesus. Prior to its release, a marketing campaign was launched with advertisements placed in the Personals columns of UK regional newspapers with the word "Your Own Personal Jesus." Later, the ads included a phone number one could dial to hear the song. The resulting furore helped propel the single to number 13 on the UK charts, becoming one of their biggest sellers to date. In the United States, it was their first gold single and their first top 40 hit since People Are People, eventually becoming the biggest-selling 12-inch single in Warner Records history up to that point. 56. I think in a way we've been at the forefront of new music, sort of chipping away at the standard rock format stations. Martin Gore, stated to NME-July 1990. 57. Released in January 1990, Enjoy the Silence reached number 6 in the UK, the first top 10 hit in that country since Master and Servant. A few months later it reached number 8 in the US and earned the band a second gold record, and it won Best British Single at the 1991 Brit Awards. 58. To promote their new album, Violator, the band held an in-store autograph signing at Warehouse Entertainment in Los Angeles. The event attracted approximately 20,000 fans and turned into a near riot. Some attendees were injured while being pressed against the store's glass by the crowd. 59. As an apology to those injured, the band released a limited edition cassette tape to fans in Los Angeles, distributed through radio station KROQ, the sponsor of the Warehouse event. Violator was the first Depeche Mode album to enter the top 10 of the Billboard 200, reaching number 7 and staying 74 weeks in the chart. It was certified triple platinum in America. 60. Two more singles from the album, Policy of Truth and World in My Eyes, were hits in the UK, with the former also charting in the US. I remember going to see them in Giants Stadium, and they broke the merchandising record of Bon Jovi, U2, all these bands. Depeche Mode were the biggest. Flood, on Giants Stadium concert. 61. The World Violation Tour saw the band play several stadium shows in the U.S. 42,000 tickets were sold within 4 hours for a show at Giants Stadium, and 48,000 tickets were sold within half an hour of going on sale for a show at Dodger Stadium. 62. An estimated 1.2 million fans saw this tour worldwide. 8. In 1991, Depeche Mode Contribution Death Store was released on the soundtrack album for the film Until the End of the World. Film director Wim Wenders had challenged musical artists to write music the way they imagined they would in the year 2000, the setting of the movie. Songs of Faith and Devotion and Wilder's Departure, 1992 to 1995. See also, Songs of Faith and Devotion and Songs of Faith and Devotion Live. Alan Wilder. Alan Wilder in 2010. The members of Depeche Mode regrouped in Madrid in January 1992. Dave Gahan had become interested in the new grunge scene sweeping the US and was influenced by the likes of Jane's Addiction, Soundgarden, and Nirvana. 63. There's so many sounds that are created from the voice that you wouldn't know were taken from the voice, like rhythm sounds. The number of times I've been sitting in the studio and said, I wish I could get a bass that would just go, mimic sweat, thick hip-hop bass drum sound. Then I think, why can't I just go, repeats noise, into a mic and sample it? It's obvious, you spend all day trying to get a synthesizer to try and create this sound, but you can just go, repeats noise, and you've got it. Then you can send it through some other device after that, and you've got something that sounds absolutely nothing like a voice, but the source was a voice. It is a very interesting process. Alan Wilder on the genesis of some of the sounds on Songs of Faith and Devotion, stated to Pulse magazine, May 1993. 8. In 1993, Songs of Faith and Devotion, again with Flood producing, saw them experimenting with arrangements based as much on heavily distorted electric guitars and live drums, played by Alan Wilder, whose debut as a studio drummer had come on the Violator track Clean, as on synthesizers. 64. Live strings, lean pipes and female gospel vocals were other new additions to the band's sound. The album debuted at number 1 in both the UK and the US, only the 6th British act to achieve such a distinction to date. 61. The first single from the album was the grunge-influenced I Feel You. The gospel influences are most noticeable on the album's third single, Condemnation. Interviews given by the band during this period tended to be conducted separately, unlike earlier albums, where the band was interviewed as a group. 8. The Devotional World Tour followed, documented by a concert film of the same name. The film was directed by Anton Corbijn, and in 1995 earned the band their first Grammy nomination. 65. The band's second live album, Songs of Faith and Devotion Live, was released in December 1993. The tour continued into 1994 with the Exotic Tour, which began in February 1994 in South Africa, and ended in April in Mexico. The final leg of the tour, consisting of more North American dates, followed shortly thereafter and ran until July. As a whole, the Devotional Tour is to date the longest and most geographically diverse Depeche Mode tour, spanning 14 months and 159 individual performances. Q magazine described the 1993 Devotional Tour as the most debauched rock and roll tour ever. 66. According to The Independent, the smack-blasted Gahan required cortisone shots just to perform, borderline alcoholic or suffered 2 stress-induced seizures, and Andrew Fletcher's deepening depression resulted, in the summer of 1994, in a full nervous breakdown. 67. After playing the McNichols Sports Arena in Denver, Colorado, local police arrested Gore and fined him $50 for disturbing the peace when he held a loud party in his hotel room. 68. Fletcher declined to participate in the second half of the Exotic Tour due to mental instability, citation needed. He was replaced on stage by Daryl Baymonte, who had worked with the band as a personal assistant since the beginning of their career in 1980. 69-70. In June 1995, Alan Wilder announced that he was leaving Depeche Mode, explaining, "Since joining in 1982, I have continually striven to give total energy, enthusiasm and commitment to the furthering of the group's success, and in spite of a consistent imbalance in the distribution of the workload, willingly offered this. Unfortunately, within the group, this level of input never received the respect and acknowledgement that it warrants." 71. Alan Wilder. He continued to work on his personal project Recoil, releasing a fourth album, Unsound Methods, in 1997. Ultra, 1996 to 1999. Despite Gahan's increasingly severe personal problems, Gore tried repeatedly during 1995 and 1996 to get the band recording again. However, Gahan would rarely turn up to scheduled sessions, and when he did, it would take weeks to get any vocals recorded. One 6-week session at Electric Lady in New York produced just one usable vocal, for Sister of Night, and even that was pieced together from multiple takes. 72. Gore was forced to contemplate breaking the band up and considered releasing the songs he had written as a solo album. 73. In mid-1996, after his near-fatal overdose in which his heart stopped beating for 2 minutes, 74, Gahan entered a court-ordered drug rehabilitation program to battle his addiction to cocaine and heroin. 75, with Gahan out of rehab in 1996, Depeche Mode held recording sessions with producer Tim Seaman. Preceded by 2 singles, Barrel of a Gun and It's No Good, the album Ultra was released in April 1997. The album debuted at number 1 in the UK, as well as Germany, and number 5 in the US. The band did not tour in support of the album, with Fletcher quoted as saying, "We're not fit enough. Dave's only 8 months into his sobriety, and our bodies are telling us to spend time with our families." 76. As part of the promotion for the release of the album, they did perform 2 short concerts in London and Los Angeles, called Ultra Parties. 77. Ultra spawned 2 further singles, Home and Useless. A second singles compilation, the singles 86 to 98, was released in 1998, preceded by the new single Only When I Lose Myself, which had been recorded during the Ultra sessions. In April 1998, Depeche Mode held a press conference at the Hyatt Hotel in Cologne to announce the singles tour. 78. The tour was the first to feature 2 backing musicians in place of Alan Wilder, Austrian drummer Christian Eigner and British keyboardist Peter Gordino. Exciter, 2000 to 2004. See also, Exciter, Depeche Mode album. In 2001, Depeche Mode released Exciter, produced by Mark Bell, of techno group LFO. Bell introduced a minimalist, digital sound to much of the album, influenced by IDM and glitch. Dream On, I Feel Loved, Free Love and Goodnight Lovers were released as singles in 2001 and 2002. Critical response to the album was mixed, with reasonably positive reviews from some magazines, NME, Rolling Stone and LA Weekly, while others, including Q Magazine, Pop Matters, and Pitchfork, derided it as sounding underproduced, dull and lackluster. 79. In March 2001, Depeche Mode held a press conference at the Valentino Hotel in Hamburg to announce the Exciter Tour. 80. The tour featured 84 performances for over 1.5 million fans in 24 countries. 81. The concerts held in Paris at the Palais Omnisports de Paris-Bercy were filmed and later released in May 2002 as a live DVD entitled One Night in Paris. In October 2002 the band won the first ever Q Magazine Innovation Award. 82. In 2003, Gahan released his first solo album, Paper Monsters, and toured to promote the record. Also released in 2003 was Gore's second solo album Counterfeit Squared. 83, Fletcher founded his own record label, Toast Hawaii, specializing in promoting electronic music. A new remix compilation album, Remixes 81-04, was released in 2004, featuring new and unreleased promo mixes of the band's singles from 1981 to 2004. A new version of Enjoy the Silence, remixed by Mike Shinoda of Linkin Park, Enjoy the Silence 04, was released as a single and reached number 7 on the UK charts. Playing the Angel, 2005 to 2007. Touring the Angel concert in Bremen, June 2006. See also, Playing the Angel. In October 2005, the band released their 11th studio album Playing the Angel. Produced by Ben Hillier, the album peaked at number 1 in 18 countries and featured the hit single Precious. This is the first Depeche Mode album to feature lyrics written by Gahan and, consequently, the first album since 1984's Some Great Reward featuring songs not written by Gore. Suffer Well was the first ever post-Clark Depeche Mode single not to be written by Gore, lyrics by Gahan, music by Philpott/Eigner. The final single from the album was John the Revelator, an up-tempo electronic track with a running religious theme, accompanied by Lillian, a lush track that was a hit in many clubs all over the world. Citation needed. To promote Playing the Angel, the band launched Touring the Angel, a concert tour of Europe and North America that began in November 2005 and ran for 9 months. During the last 2 legs of the tour, Depeche Mode headlined a number of festivals including the Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival and the O2 Wireless Festival. In total, the band played to more than 2.8 million people across 31 countries, and the tour was one of the highest-grossing and critically acclaimed tours of 2005-2006. 3. Speaking about the tour, Gahan praised it as probably the most enjoyable, rewarding live shows we've ever done. The new material was just waiting to be played live. It took on a life of its own. With the energy of the crowds, it just came to life. 84. 2 shows at Milan's Fila Forum were filmed and edited into a concert film, released on DVD as Touring the Angel, Live in Milan. 85. A best of compilation was released in November 2006, entitled The Best of, Volume 1, featuring a new single, Martyr, an outtake from the Playing the Angel sessions. Later that month, Depeche Mode received the MTV Europe Music Award in the Best Group category. 86. In December 2006, iTunes released the complete Depeche Mode as its 4th ever digital box set. 87. In August 2007, during promotion for Dave Gahan's 2nd solo album, Hourglass, it was announced that Depeche Mode were heading back in studio in early 2008 to work on a new album. 88. Sounds of the Universe, 2008 to 2011. See also, Sounds of the Universe. In May 2008, the band returned to the studio with producer Ben Hillier to work on some songs that Martin Gore had demoed at his home studio in Santa Barbara, California. Later that year, it was announced that Depeche Mode were splitting from their long-term U.S. label, Warner Music, and signing with MA Music Worldwide. 89. The album was created in 4 sessions, 2 in New York and 2 in Santa Barbara. A total of 22 songs were recorded, with the standard album being 13 songs in length, while many of the others were released in subsequent deluxe editions. 90. In 2009, Depeche Mode allowed their likeness to be used in Valve's Left 4 Dead 2. 91. Tour of the Universe concert at London's O2 Arena, December 2009. On January 15, 2009, the official Depeche Mode website announced that the band's 12th studio album would be called Sounds of the Universe. 92. The album was released in April 2009, also made available through an iTunes Pass, where the buyer received individual tracks in the weeks leading up to official release date. Andy Fletcher says the idea for their iTunes Pass was a combination of the band's and iTunes. I think the digital and record companies are starting to get their act together. They were very lazy in the first 10 years when downloads came in. Now they're collaborating more and coming up with interesting ideas for fans to buy products. 93. The album went to number 1 in 21 countries. Critical response was generally positive, and it was nominated for a Grammy in the Best Alternative Album category. 94. Wrong was the first single from the album, released digitally in February 2009. Subsequent singles were Peace and the double A-side Fragile Tension, Whole to Feed. In addition, Perfect was released as a promotional-only, non-commercial, single in the United States. On April 23, 2009, Depeche Mode performed for the television program Jimmy Kimmel Live at the famed corner of Hollywood Boulevard and Vine Street, drawing more than 12,000 fans, which was the largest audience the program had seen since its 2003 premiere, with a performance by Coldplay. 95. In May 2009, the band embarked on a concert tour in support of the album, called Tour of the Universe. It had been announced at a press conference in October 2008 at the Olympia Stadion in Berlin. 96. There was a warm-up show in Luxembourg, and it officially started on May 10, 2009 in Tel Aviv. The first leg of the tour was disrupted when Dave Gahan was struck down with gastroenteritis. During treatment, doctors found and removed a low-grade tumor from the singer's bladder. Gahan's illness caused 16 concerts to be cancelled, but several of the shows were rescheduled for 2010. 97, the band headlined the Lollapalooza Festival during the North American leg of the tour. The tour also took the band back to South America for the first time since 1994's Exotic Tour. During the final European leg, the band played a show at London's Royal Albert Hall in aid of the Teenage Cancer Trust, where former member Alan Wilder joined Martin Gore on stage for a performance of Somebody. 98-99, in total the band played to more than 2.7 million people across 32 countries, and the tour was one of the most profitable in America in 2009. 100-101, the concerts held at Palau Sant Jordi, Barcelona, Spain were filmed and later released on DVD and Blu-ray disc release entitled Tour of the Universe, Barcelona 20 November 21, 2009. 102, in March 2010, Depeche Mode won the award for Best International Group, Rock, Pop at the Echo Awards in Germany. 103. On June 6, 2011, as the final commitment to their contract with EMI, 104, the band released a remix compilation album, entitled Remixes 2, 81-11 that features remixes by former members Vince Clarke and Alan Wilder. 105-106, other remixers involved with the project were Nick Rhodes of Duran Duran, 107, Roy Soap, Carlson and Winberg of Mike Snow, Eric Prides, Clark and more. 108, a new remix of Personal Jesus by Stargate, entitled Personal Jesus 2011, was released as a single on May 30, 2011, in support of the compilation. Depeche Mode contributed their cover of the U2 song So Cruel to the tribute album AHK Toon Baby covered honoring the 20th anniversary of Achtung Baby, a 1991 album by U2. The compilation CD was released with the December 2011 issue of Q. 109-110. Delta Machine, 2012 to 2015. See also, Delta Machine. In October 2012, during a press conference in Paris, Dave Gahan, Martin Gore and Andy Fletcher announced plans for a new album and a 2013 worldwide tour starting from Tel Aviv and continuing in Europe and North America. 111, Martin Gore revealed that Flood mixed the album, marking the producer's first studio collaboration with the band since 1993's Songs of Faith and Devotion. In December 2012, the band officially announced signing a worldwide deal with Columbia Records and releasing a new album in March 2013. 112, on January 24, 2013, it was confirmed that the album was titled Delta Machine. 113, Heaven, the debut single from Delta Machine was released commercially on Friday, February 1, 2013, although not in the UK. The release date in the UK was pushed back to March 18, 2013, March 17, 2013 on iTunes. The physical release still bore the Mute Records logo, even though the band have now severed ties with their long-standing label. Andy Fletcher mentioned in an interview this was due to their devotion to the label and with the band's insistence. Citation needed. In March, the band announced North American dates to its Delta Machine Summer Tour, starting 22nd of August from Detroit and ending 8th of October in Phoenix. 114, in June, other European dates 115, were confirmed for early 2014. The final gig of Delta Machine Tour took place in Moscow, Russia, on March 7, 2014, at Olympijski venue. That month, Depeche Mode won the award for Best International Group, Rock, Pop at the Echo Awards in Germany. Also, they were nominated at the category Album des Genres, National Oder International, for Delta Machine but lost against Helene Fischer's Farbenspiel. 116-117. On October 8, 2014, the band announced Live in Berlin, The new video and audio release filmed and recorded at the O2 World in Berlin, Germany in November 2013 during the Delta Machine Tour. It was released on November 17, 2014 worldwide. 118. In a 2015 Rolling Stone interview celebrating the 25th anniversary of Violator, Martin Gore stated that Johnny Cash's cover of Personal Jesus is his favorite cover version of a Depeche Mode song. 119. Spirit, 2016 to 2020. See also, Spirit, Depeche Mode album. On January 25, 2016, Martin Gore announced a projected return to the recording studio in April, with both Gore and Gahan having already written and demoed new songs. 120. In September, the official Depeche Mode Facebook page hinted at a new release, later confirmed by the band to be a music video compilation, video singles collection, scheduled for release in November by Sony. 121. In October 2016, the band announced that their 14th album, titled Spirit and produced by James Ford, would be released in spring 2017. 122. Where's the Revolution, the lead single from Spirit, was released February 3, 2017, along with its lyric video. The official video was published a week later, on 9 February. 123. The Global Spirit Tour officially kicked off on May 5, 2017 with a performance in Stockholm, Sweden, at the Friends Arena. The first leg of the tour covered European countries only, ending with a final stadium show in Cluj-Napoca, Romania, at the Cluj Arena. The second leg of the tour covered North America and returned to Europe. The North America leg of the tour kicked off in Salt Lake City, Utah, on 23 August, at the USANA Amphitheater. The band remained in North America until 15 November when they left for Dublin to resume the European leg. The band ended the tour in Europe with two sold-out shows on 23 and July 25, 2018 in Berlin, Germany, at the Waldbahn. 124, 125, 126. In September 2019, the band announced that Spirits in the Forest, a documentary that was partially filmed during these shows, would be released in theaters for one night only, November 21, 2019. 127. On November 7, 2020, the band were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 128. Fletcher's death and memento mori, 2022 present. On May 26, 2022, Andy Fletcher died, aged 60, after suffering an aortic dissection while at home. His fellow bandmates Gahan and Gore stated, "We are shocked and filled with overwhelming sadness with the untimely passing of our dear friend, family member and bandmate Andy Fletcher." Former Depeche Mode member Alan Wilder stated that learning of Fletcher's death was a real bolt from the blue. 129-130. Prior to Fletcher's death, Gahan said, "There's a ton of stuff that we've done with Depeche Mode that I'm really proud of. I think that's come with time and age. Martin put out a record last year which I really liked. I actually bought a copy because it wouldn't feel right otherwise. I know he's been pottering away in his studio as well, so I guess at some point next year we'll get together. Hopefully at least to just have a chat about what we both feel like we could move forward with." 131. Gore, left, and Gahan, center, announcing their upcoming album, at a press conference in Berlin. When asked about their feelings towards Fletcher's passing, Dave Gahan stated, "Fletch would have loved this album, and he was very upset that he hadn't gotten a chance to hear any of the material." Martin Gore also clarified, "We started work on this project early in the pandemic, and its themes were directly inspired by that time. After Fletcher's passing, we decided to continue as we're sure this is what he would have wanted, and that has really given the project an extra level of meaning, which many assumed the title was a tribute to Andy, due to its meaning 'Remember You Must Die.'" On August 15, 2022, the social media accounts for Depeche Mode posted a photo of Gahan and Gore in a recording studio, with them tweeting, "Finding stability in what we know and love, and focusing on what gives life meaning and purpose, which magazines like NME suggested was a hint at work on a new studio album. 132-133. On October 4, 2022, Depeche Mode announced their new album Memento Mori and a tour which will start on March 23, 2023. 134. The first single, Ghosts Again, was released in February 9, 2023. 135. They stated that they had begun work on the album in the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. 136-137. Gahan and Gore said they would send each other ideas for songs. For example, Dave said, "I played guitar and sort of sang on my iPhone," while Gore sent it back with his angelic voice. 134. They also stated that they would be working with James Ford once again as well as Marta Solani as producers for the album. 138-139. Musical style and influences. The early musical endeavors of Clarke, Fletcher and Gore were inspired by punk rock, the post-punk groups Susie and the Banshees and The Cure, and the electronic bands Kraftwerk, The Human League and Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, OMD. This confluence of sounds translated into Depeche Mode. 140, although the group began to pursue a more electronic direction at the behest of Clarke, who had been heavily influenced by OMD's fusion of electronics and emotion. 141. Gore had similar objectives in relation to the band's sound, stating, "My dream was to combine the emotion of Neil Young or John Lennon transmitted by Kraftwerk's synthesizers, soul music played by electronic instruments." 142. Group members have also cited David Bowie, The Clash. 143. Roxy Music and Brian Eno. 144. Elvis Presley, The Velvet Underground. 145. Fad Gadget. 146. Suicide. 147, and The Blues. 148. Depeche Mode were considered a teen pop band during their early period in the UK, and interviewed in teen pop magazines such as Smash Hits. 149-150. Following the departure of Clarke, their music began to take on a darker tone, establishing a darker sound in the band's music, as Gore assumed lead songwriting duties. 151. Gore's lyrics include themes such as sex, religion, and politics. 152. Gore has stated he feels lyrical themes which tackle issues related to solitude and loneliness are a better representation of reality, whereas he finds happy songs fake and unrealistic. 153. At the same time, he asserts that the band's music contains an element of hope. 154. Depeche Mode's music has mainly been described as synth-pop. 155-99 156 157 158 151, New Wave. 105 156 159, Electronic Rock. 160 161 162 163, Dance Rock. 164 165, Alternative Rock. 151, and Pop Rock. 166. The band also experimented with various other genres throughout its career, including avant-garde, electronica, pop, soul, techno, industrial rock and heavy metal. 167. Legacy. See also, List of cover versions of Depeche Mode songs. Depeche Mode in 2013. Depeche Mode have released a total of 14 studio albums, 10 compilation albums, 6 live albums, 8 box sets, 13 video albums, 71 music videos, and 54 singles. They have sold over 100 million records and played live to more than 30 million fans worldwide. The band has had 50 songs in the UK singles chart, and 1 US and 2 UK number 1 albums. 168. In addition, all of their studio albums have reached the UK top 10 and their albums have spent over 210 weeks on the UK charts. 25. In 2006, Music critic Sasha Frere-Jones stated that the last serious English influence was Depeche Mode, who seem more and more significant as time passes. 169. Depeche Mode's releases have been nominated for 5 Grammy Awards: Devotional for Best Long-Form Music Video, I Feel Loved and Suffer Well, both for Best Dance Recording, Sounds of the Universe for Best Alternative Album, and Wrong for Best Short-Form Music Video. In addition, Depeche Mode have been honored with a Brit Award for Enjoy the Silence in the Best British Single category, the first ever Q Innovation Award, and an Ivor Novello Award from Martin Gore in the category of International Achievement. Depeche Mode were called the most popular electronic band the world has ever known by Q. 170, one of the greatest British pop groups of all time by the Sunday Telegraph. 171, and the quintessential 80s techno-pop band by Rolling Stone and AllMusic. 157-156, they were ranked number 2 on Electronic Music Realm's list of the 100 greatest artists of electronic music. 172, ranked number 158 on Acclaim Music's list of top 1,000 artists of all time. 173, and Q included them on their list of 50 bands that changed the world. 4. Other musicians have stated their admiration for Depeche Mode. In an interview in 2009, Simple Minds lead singer Jim Kerr argued that Depeche Mode and U2 were the only contemporaries of his band which could be said to have stayed constantly relevant. 174, Muse's Matt Bellamy said, "They had their own thing, their own style, own sound. I respect them very much." 175, during Depeche Mode's induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Coldplay's Chris Martin remarked, "Sonically, they were and are about throwing away all the rule books." Arcade Fire's Win Butler added, "I feel like their music still sounds like it could come out 20 years from now." Depeche were able to take that spirit and spread it, which is really kind of a sacred responsibility. 128-176. Influence. Several major artists have cited the band as an influence, including Arcade Fire, 177, The Killers, 178-179, 9 Inch Nails, 151, Churches, 180, The Smashing Pumpkins, 181, Coldplay, 178, Muse, 178, Metric, 182, No Doubt, 183, A Perfect Circle, 184, Marilyn Manson, 185, Linkin Park, 186-187, The Crystal Method, 188, Fear Factory, 189, La Rue, 190, Gautier, 191, Rammstein, 185-192, Aha, 193, Tegan and Sarah, Ensemble 194, and Paul van Dyk. 195, Depeche Mode contemporaries Pet Shop Boys 196, and Gary Newman 197, have also cited the band as an influence. Colombian singer Shakira described Enjoy the Silence as the song that first sparked her passion for pop music. 198. The dark themes and moods of Depeche Mode's lyrics and music have been enjoyed by several heavy metal artists, and the band influenced acts such as Marilyn Manson and Deftones. 185. Trent Reznor of 9 Inch Nails also cited Depeche Mode, in particular their 1986 album Black Celebration, as a major influence on his beginnings. 151. They have also been named as an influence on Detroit techno 151, and indie rock. 199. Philanthropy. Early in their career, Depeche Mode was dismissive of benefit concerts such as Live Aid. Gore himself stated, "If these bands really care so much, they should just donate the money and let that be it. Why can't they do it without all the surrounding hype?" 43. Since 2010, the band has applied their celebrity and cultural longevity to help promote and raise funds for several notable charity endeavors. They lent their support to high-profile charities such as MusiCares, Cancer Research UK and the Teenage Cancer Trust. The band has also supported the Small Steps Project, a humanitarian organization based in the UK, aiming to assist economically disadvantaged children into education. 200. They have partnered with Swiss watchmaker Hublot to support charity, water, aimed at the provision of clean drinking water in developing countries. 201. Such collaboration led to the release of two different limited edition watches, the Hublot Big Bang Depeche Mode in 2017 and the Singles Limited Edition series based from the Big Bang model in 2018. The proceeds helped raise $1.7 million for charity, water. 202. In 2014, the partnership hosted a gala and fundraiser at the TSUM building in Moscow, raising $1.4 million for the charity. 203. Band members. Current members: Dave Gahan, lead vocals, 1980 present. Martin Gore, keyboards, guitars, backing and lead vocals, 1980 present. Touring musicians: Christian Eigner, drums, keyboards, 1997 present. Peter Gordino, keyboards, bass guitar, piano, backing vocals, 1998 present. Former members: Andy Fletcher, keyboards, bass guitar, occasional backing vocals, 1980 to 2022, his death. Vince Clarke, keyboards, lead and backing vocals, guitars, 1980 to 1981. Alan Wilder, keyboards, piano, drums, backing vocals, 1982 to 1995, touring member in 1982, guest in 2010. Former touring musicians: Hildia Campbell, backing vocals, 1993 to 1994. Samantha Smith, backing vocals, 1993 to 1994. Daryl Baymonte, keyboards, samplers, 1994. Dave Clayton, keyboards, programming, 1997-204. Janet Cook, backing vocals, 1998. Jordan Bailey, backing vocals, 1998, 2001. Georgia Lewis, backing vocals, 2001. Timeline. Discography. Main article, Depeche Mode discography. Speak and Spell, 1981. A Broken Frame, 1982. Construction Time Again, 1983. Some Great Reward, 1984. Black Celebration, 1986. Music for the Masses, 1987. Violator, 1990. Songs of Faith and Devotion, 1993. Ultra, 1997. Exciter, 2001. Playing the Angel, 2005. Sounds of the Universe, 2009. Delta Machine, 2013. Spirit, 2017.